What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over the 2018 series for Catwoman as a way to kind of get us ready for the Dawn of DC for this character. Because some books in the Dawn of DC did not completely start over like Superman did, or Titans, or Green Arrow. That basically you had some titles just continuing on in the Dawn of DC. Now, when it comes to Catwoman, her series has been going on since 2018, right after the big moment where her and Batman were supposed to get married, and of course we know they did not get married. Now, with that being said, she did leave Gotham to get away from Gotham, but to also get away from Batman. And she did went to a different city, and that city is known as Villa Hermosa, and I really hope I pronounced that name correctly. Now, in this city, she already met some very interesting characters, some on her side and some bad guys who are trying to basically stop her or use her for their own personal gain. Now, with that being said, though, we already covered Volume 1 when it comes to this series. And matter of fact, I'll link the playlist down below so that you'll be able to actually catch up on the series. Now, we covered the first story of Volume 2. It was a two-parter where basically you had the Penguin come into town and asked Catwoman to steal a certain kind of item. Now, she was actually able to get that item, but here is the big problem though. The item was guarded by a very special person, and this person told Catwoman that this item is only half of a map, meaning that you need a second part of this item to complete the map to basically find these different locations around the world. Now, for Catwoman, she honestly did not care about the map. She only came to steal the artifact because the Penguin wanted the artifact, because the Penguin took her sister as a hostage. And so you had Catwoman actually steal the item for the Penguin to free her sister. Now, at the end of our last video, we did see her basically get captured by the Penguin, and we were left to believe that something bad is actually going to happen to her. Now, to begin the second story in Volume 2, we actually do pick up with Carlos. Now, Carlos is actually the nephew of a shop owner where Catwoman and him are staying at, where she actually lives at. And so Carlos is somewhat of a friend of Selina's in a way. Either way, though, you do have Carlos right now stuck in the back of the truck. Now, I do want to mention that this story is going to jump back and forth between the past and the present to give us a complete story on how in the world Carlos ended up in the back of a truck, locked in the back of the truck, and now he's calling out for help. And thankfully, Catwoman is on her way to actually help him out. But yes, Carlos is the nephew of the shop owner that Catwoman currently lives in on the top floor right above the actual shop. But Carlos is calling out for help, and you do have Catwoman on her way. But then we jump back in the past where we actually do pick up with Selina and a new character known as James. Now, this is going to begin the process of us learning how in the world did Carlos end up in the back of a truck, locked inside that truck, by the way. And so right now we do see Selina and James right now at this auction. Now, James is a new character, but all we know so far is that he is a friend of Carlos, but apparently there is some kind of connection between James and Selina. And when I say connection, I mean like they basically looked at each other in the eyes and they felt something, like they possibly like each other. Either way, right now, they're at this auction getting ready to steal a certain kind of item that is actually going to be very important for this story, but also kind of builds off of what we saw in the last story. And speaking of last video, we actually do pick up where the last video left off at to tell us how Catwoman got away from the Penguin. And what happened was that basically after she had left the building with the artifact that she was hired to steal for the Penguin, you had the Penguin men grab her. And it did seem like the Penguin was going to kill her. But then you have Catwoman do her usual thing, where she's actually able to get away. Now, this is actually a very important moment because yes, it does wrap up the last story from our last video, but it also continues this story right here. And what I mean by that is, as soon as she's able to get away from the Penguin's men and be able to leave with the artifact that she was hired to steal for the Penguin, well, part of the artifact was left behind. Now, the part that was actually left behind was some kind of jewel, and that was what the Penguin wanted. He wanted the jewel, not the actual artifact that Catwoman got away with. And so now the artifact that she has is going to be very important for this storyline. But then we actually pick up with Raymond Creel. Now we're still in the past, and matter of fact, this moment right here does take place a few minutes after or a few hours after Catwoman was able to get away from the Penguin. But remember, when it comes to Raymond Creel, he was actually the son of the last mayor of the city, but his mother, Raina Creel, was the main bad guy in Volume 1 of the Catwoman series. Now Raymond is trying to be a good person, just trying to win an election, become the next mayor, and just trying to do good by his father's name. Now, with that being said, though, at the end of our last video, his mother, Raina, the bad guy of Volume 1, was able to get a serum that was able to bring her other son back to life, Adam, because Adam died back in Volume 1 along with their father. But either way, though, Adam was brought back to life because to Raina, Adam was the better son, the son that would do anything for her. And so she had to go out of her way to bring her son back to life, and she was able to do that. Now, we saw that in our last video. And the reason why I'm bringing this up right now, because you do have Detective Yilmaz, and I really hope I pronounce his name correctly, come to Raymond and say, hey, your mom wants to talk to you. Now, Raymond is trying to move away from his mom because he realized how crazy and evil his mom is. But unfortunately, every time he tries, she just pulls him right back in. And so he does get into the car where he does see his mom, Raina, and also his zombie brother, Adam. Now, getting back over to Catwoman, we actually do see her right now taking care of her sister Maggie. Now, this moment right here does take place right after she was able to get away from the Penguin with the artifact. Now, with that being said, remember, Maggie is the sister of Selena, but the reason why Selena is taking care of Maggie is because her mind is completely shut down. And the reason why, because Maggie has somebody she cared for. I want to say boyfriend, but either way, Black Mask killed that guy off and made her eat that guy's eyeballs, which of course basically made her go insane and made her mind just completely shut down. And so right now she's kind of bound to a wheelchair until she's able to kind of work through what she went through, which basically was eating the eyeballs of her dead boyfriend. And so you have Selena trying to take care of her sister, but you then have the aunt of Carlos, the shop owner, ask Selena, do you actually think that you'll be able to take care of her? Like, she needs more professional help. But this is Selena kind of like, I need to take care of my sister. She's somebody I care for. I let her down once and I can't let her down again. But then you have Carlos say, hey, let's go because everything is set up. And of course, we're wondering, what does Carlos mean by that? But you do have the aunt of Carlos say, hey, you know what? I'll take care of her while you guys go out there and take care of business. Now, this is the moment where we actually kind of find out how Selena met James, because James was a new character that was introduced to us at the very beginning of the story, but we had no idea where James actually came from. Well, we kind of find out that James is actually a dear friend of Carlos, but James is one of the best forgers in the area. And so with that being said, you do have Carlos take Catwoman to this warehouse where there is a secret way to get into the top level of this warehouse, where of course James lives in. Now, as soon as Selena meets James, there was a connection right then and there. Like as soon as she saw him and as soon as he saw her, we can tell that they like each other, and Carlos could tell they liked each other as well. But James is the best forger in the area. Now, with him being a forger is going to be very important for this storyline. But getting back to the present day, but to also wrap up the first chapter, we do see Carlos is stuck in the back of a truck that seems to be a very high-level security truck, meaning that it's protected by some security guards, meaning that whatever is on that truck that Carlos tried to take is very important. And so you do have Catwoman trying to save him. But as she's riding on a motorcycle behind the truck, the driver does see her coming up on his side, and he's kind of like, oh, that seems like trouble. Let me drive faster, which means now she has to go even faster to catch the truck to hopefully free Carlos. Now, getting into the second chapter of the storyline, we do continue the idea of Catwoman trying to save the life of Carlos, who's stuck right now in the back of the truck. Now, this section right here does jump back and forth between two different settings, where you do have this big event going off where apparently a lot of Hollywood stars are about to attend this huge party or this huge event. And of course, when they do arrive, they have to show off their different outfits they have for the night. And you're kind of wondering, why in the world is this important at all? Because it does keep popping back up while you have Catwoman chasing down the truck that Carlos is stuck in the back of. And you kind of find out the reason why, because while you had the story jumping back and forth between the two settings, once Catwoman is actually able to get to the truck and actually stop the truck or make the truck crash, it does crash near this huge event that is happening right now with all these different Hollywood stars are about to attend. But then we jump back over to the Creel family, where we actually do pick up with Raymond trying to he's really trying his best to be a good guy now. But every single time he tries, his mom basically brings him back in for her evil schemes. Because Raymond realized that his mom is just pure evil. That what she's trying to do is just completely wrong. He's right now trying to win an election and be a good guy. Now, with that being said, though, you do have his mom once again pull him into one of her evil schemes, and she says, I need you to keep everybody who is looking for me busy. And the reason why, because I'm trying to find more of the elixir that can help your brother Adam out. And what she means by that is because she gave Adam only one small portion of the elixir, it did bring him back to life. But look at the dude. He looks like a zombie. And so right now, what she's saying is that she's trying to find more samples of the elixir that could possibly help Adam look more normal. Now, she believes that Catwoman might have a way to figure out where she can find more samples. And the reason why she believes that, because the elixir that she got came from the same person that Catwoman stole the artifact from. And so this is Raina saying, I know that after I left, Catwoman came there, stole an artifact, and that artifact could be very important in telling me where I can find more samples of this elixir that can basically help your brother out. Now, you do have Raymond tell his mom no. But of course, she's kind of like, if you don't help me, I'm going to kill you. Because honestly, you are the most disappointment child in my life. I have two boys, but I don't like you. I like Adam. And so I'll be okay killing you if it does actually help me save my other son's life, Adam, the one who I actually do care for. Now, the next section continues the idea of Carlos and Catwoman trying to get away from the police, because after the crash we saw earlier, and of course this crash happened at a big, huge Hollywood star event, you do have the police there who are basically, kind of working security for that event. They're kind of like, this girl just crashed a car at this event. Yeah, we got to bring her in, and him too, because he's with her. And so you do have police trying to basically arrest Catwoman and Carlos, which honestly is not going to be an easy task for the police. Maybe Carlos is easy, but Catwoman? No, not even close. But either way, though, you do have Carlos and Catwoman just trying to get away from the police. But then we actually jump over to Aunt Linda. Now remember, Aunt Linda is actually Carlos's aunt, but she's also the shop owner where Catwoman currently lives at, because she lives right above the shop. Now, with that being said, while you have Aunt Linda right now kind of cleaning up the shop, that is the moment she is confronted by Detective Yilmaz. Now, Detective Yilmaz is actually coming here to look for Catwoman. But of course, he does not find her. And so what he does next is he grabs Aunt Linda, because he knows if he grabs her, then sooner or later, Carlos and Catwoman will come looking for her. And they're hoping when that does happen, they can get the artifact away from Catwoman, because Raina Creel now wants that artifact that Catwoman stole from the Penguin earlier. Now, as we get into the third chapter, we actually do pick up with Selena and Kyle still on the run from the police. The thing is, though, now they're in a police car. And so this police chase with a police car is hilarious to me. Either way, though, you do have Carlos like freaking out, and you have Selena kind of like, yeah, this is a normal Tuesday for me. Like, basically being chased by the police. Yeah, this is nothing new. This basically happens at least once every week, so who cares? But you have Carlos kind of like, I never been in police chase before, and this is not normal, plus we're in a police car, and you're driving crazy. Either way, the first few pages of the third chapter is really more of them still trying to get away from the police. But then we actually jump back in time, where we actually kind of learn more about what led up to the moment where you had Carlos locked away in that truck, and what happened after Catwoman got away from the Penguin. And we learned that right before she met up with James, but after she got away from the Penguin, and after she had left her sister with Aunt Linda, Catwoman and Carlos went to go meet a guy who knew more about the artifact. And what he tells Catwoman is that what you have here is basically a map. And this map is very special because it does show a lot of different locations that are actually very important. The problem is, though, with this artifact, you only have half the map. You need the other half of the artifact to get the complete map. And so he says the other artifact is actually a mask that goes on top of this artifact. Once you have both pieces, you then have the complete map. Now, with all that information being shared to her, that is how James got brought in, because they needed James to forge a fake mask, because they're going to steal the actual real one. But then back in the present day, we do see that Raina is right now talking to somebody about family. Now, of course, we know that basically she's talking to Aunt Linda about family, because it's right now Raina Creel trying to convince Aunt Linda to basically help out to find Catwoman and Carlos to get what she wants, which is the other artifact that basically Catwoman has. But then we jump back in the past once again, where we actually do pick up with Selena and also James. Now, remember, in the past, when we saw these two characters together, they were actually at some kind of auction. And now we're going to find out why they were at this auction for. And the reason why, because they were trying to steal the mask. And so with us being in the past at this moment right here, it gives us more information on what was going on between James and Selena at the auction, but also gives us more information on why in the world Carlos got stuck in the back of the truck. Either way, though, what happened was that at the auction, and with James being the best forger in the area, he made a fake mask. And with him making a fake mask, sorry, I messed up there. By making a fake mask, what happened was Selena bumped into somebody who was holding the real mask. And remember, she needs the real mask because the real mask is actually the second half to the artifact that she already has. And once she has both the mask and the artifact together, she then has a complete map that these two items are holding inside each other. And so, in the confusion, because she did bump into somebody, they do switch out the real one with the fake one. And so the person who had the real one leaves with the fake one, while you have our heroes, I say heroes loosely here, are able to grab the real mask. Now, once they're able to actually do that, then we continue to see the idea that there is some kind of connection between James and Selena that shows that these two characters actually like each other. But then you have Selena realize that Carlos is missing. And so now she has to go and find Carlos. But getting back over to Raina Creel, we actually do see her right now still talking to somebody while you have Adam, her zombie son there, and also the detective as well there. And of course, we do get confirmation that she's holding Aunt Linda hostage as a way to get to Catwoman and also Carlos to get the artifact that she needs. Because we come to find out the artifact that Catwoman has that has the map that shows different locations is what Raina wants. And the reason why, because those locations do show other samples of the elixir that she wants to get for her son Adam. And so that's why she's after Catwoman, to get the artifact, to get the mask. Because when you have both pieces, you then have a complete map, and then you can find different locations around the world that have different samples of this elixir that she wants to use for her son. And so she's hoping to use Aunt Linda to get to Catwoman and Carlos. But then we finally learn why in the world Carlos was in the back of the truck for. And the reason why, because Carlos said being around Selena for so long that he was basically influenced by her to steal more things, rather than just laying low when you have the item you came for originally. And so he thought it'd be a good idea to steal some more artifacts just in case Selena and James would be unable to actually get the mask. The problem was the artifacts he was looking at was in the back of the truck. And so while being inside the truck, he got locked in because the guards who were watching the truck did not see him inside there, and he got locked away. But back in the present day, we do see that Catwoman was able to lose the cops in that police chase. Now, after she does that right there, you do have Carlos and Selena go back to the shop. And when they go to the shop, they realize that Aunt Linda is not around. They're kind of like, hey, where is she at? And then they find Maggie. And remember, Maggie is the sister to Catwoman, but she has been mentally shut down. And so when you have Selena go over to her sister, she realized that her sister had some kind of accident. And she's kind of like, hey, where is Aunt Linda? Why has she changed you? Why has she taken care of you? What in the world is going on? And then you have Carlos appear in the room and say, oh my God, they grabbed Aunt Linda. Which means that, hey, I think someone grabbed her, and we know who grabbed her. It was Raina Creel. Now, getting into the final chapter, we actually do pick up with two different settings happening at the same time. So on the rooftop, you do have Selena leaving as Catwoman once again to go out into the city to basically look for Aunt Linda because she has been kidnapped. Now, you do have James basically chasing after her because James kind of like, where are you going? You have no idea where she's at, where they're holding her at. Like, you're just going to leave and hope to find her so easily. But also it's James trying to get Selena to come back home with him so they can have some fun time. But honestly, this is the worst time to ask for a lady to come home with you when she's trying to find somebody who's been kidnapped, who has been helping her entire time in this city. Now, while you have those two characters actually talking, you do have Carlos on the first floor in the shop right now being confronted by the detective. Because again, with Aunt Linda being kidnapped by the Creel family, they knew that if they kidnapped her, they can use her as a way to get to Carlos or Catwoman. Now, we do see Carlos basically get his butt kicked by Detective Yilmaz because honestly, Carlos never knew or never learned how to fight or how to defend himself. So basically, right now, he is actually being attacked by Detective and not being able to protect himself. But while you have Yilmaz actually beating down on Carlos, well, that is the moment you do have Reina walk in with, of course, Linda, but she also walks in with the doctor. Now, this doctor is kind of one of the many assistants to Reina, and he's going to be somewhat important for later stories, but for right now, not really. Either way, though, this is Reina coming here saying, "Hey, Carlos, it's time for us to talk." But getting back to the rooftop with the conversation going on between Catwoman and also James, you do have James kind of wondering what is going on with Catwoman. Like, why did she leave Gotham? Because with her being from Gotham, she's a well-known super villain, superhero, whatever, but she's well-known. But of course, it's James want to know, why did she leave Gotham for? What is she running away from? Now, we know what it was. It was Batman. She's trying to get away from Batman and have a new beginning in her life. But for James here, he's kind of like, okay, cool and all, but like, I need more than that. I want to understand you and actually be with you. Now, for Catwoman, because she's been so badly hurt over the years, she's kind of afraid to jump into another relationship, especially right after one she ended with Batman. And so she does leave James kind of standing there confused on if there is a possibility that these two characters could get together, because to her right now, she's damaged goods. And to her, there's no way James can fix damaged goods. Now, we actually do jump back over to Carlos. Now, the reason why Carlos is bleeding in the face is because, well, he was punched in the face a lot of times by the detective. But with him bleeding, his blood does fall on the two artifacts that were so important to both parties. But when his blood does fall on the artifacts didn't show a map. Now, with this map, it does show a lot of different locations around the world. Now, this is actually very important because these locations are basically, or could be, more samples of the elixir that Raina Creel wants to use on her son Adam. But while you have everyone looking at the map, you do have Selena Kyle come back to the shop to fight against Raina Creel, Detective Yilmaz, and to also protect Aunt Linda and Carlos and Maggie, the sister, as well. And so this does lead into a battle between all the different parties. Now, with that being said, you do have two people get stabbed. Selena gets stabbed, but she does get stabbed after she has stabbed Detective Yilmaz. And so basically you have two people who got stabbed. But here's the thing though, you do have everyone go their separate ways, but Raina Creel was able to actually get the artifacts and leave before anything else happens to her. Now, after all of that right there, we actually do pick up with Raymond. Now, you do have Raymond right now actually trying to have a normal day, but he was once again called by his mother. And remember, Raymond is trying to be a good guy. He's trying to stay away from his mom and all her evil schemes. The problem is, though, once again, he was called by his mom. He goes to their old house, and when he gets there, as soon as he is confronted by his mother, he is basically killed. His throat was cut by his own brother, Adam. And the reason why, because they had to spill more blood on the artifacts to show the map once again. So now Raina Creel has the locations of all the different samples of the elixir that she wants to use that could possibly help Adam get better, because right now Adam looks like a zombie. Now, to go ahead and close on today's video, we actually do pick up with Catwoman right now going to what seems to be a house. I thought it was Wayne Manor, but I could be wrong. But when she does enter the house, she is looking for something, except that is the moment a small robot does appear. And with this small robot, a hologram appears. Now, with this hologram, it is actually Lex Luthor. Now, this actually jumps us right into a small DC event that DC did back in 2018. or was it 2019? Either way, it was known as the year of the villain, where basically you have Lex Luthor right now trying to recruit different villains to basically help him save or release the creator of the multiverse. And that would be Perpetua. Now, of course, we all know that storyline leads into Death Metal, but of course, we're not going to cover Death Metal. But before Death Metal, we had the year of the villain, and it was a storyline, like I said earlier, Lex Luthor going around trying to recruit other villains, or who he thought was villains, to basically help him release the creator of the multiverse. And so this is where volume 2 actually ends. But with that being said, I do hope you enjoyed today's comic book video. And if you did, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.